Welcome to Echoes of the Unknown, the podcast where we'll be exploring some of the world's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. I'm Jack Montgomery, and today we're traveling to Tokyo to delve into a crime known as the Setagaya Family Murder, one of Japan's most perplexing unsolved cases. What makes it stand out is that instead of fleeing after committing a horrific mass murder, the killer remained in the victim's home for several hours, displaying behavior that can only be described as bizarre. More than 2 decades later, this case continues to haunt investigators. On December 30th, 2000, in a peaceful neighborhood of Setagaya, a city in the western suburbs of Tokyo, what should have been a typical family evening became the scene of an unfathomable tragedy. The victims of this shocking crime were the Miyazawa family. Mikio, age 44, his wife Yasuko, 41, and their 2 young children, their 8-year-old daughter Nina and 6-year-old son Ray. That evening, they had returned from shopping and shared a family dinner, likely discussing their plans for New Year's Eve. Their home was modest but comfortable, situated near parkland in an area that was undergoing transition at the time. Sometime between approximately 11:30 p.m. and midnight, an intruder would invade their home and brutally slaughter all 4 of them. The following morning, Yasuko's mother, Haruko, became suspicious after she was unable to reach her daughter. She stopped by the house but received no answer after ringing the doorbell. At 10:40 a.m., Haruko entered the home and was horrified by what she discovered: the bodies of all 4 members of her daughter's family. The Seijo Police Station, under the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, launched an investigation immediately upon discovery of the bodies. Takeshi Tsuchida, the chief of the Seijo Police Station, was designated as the person in charge of the investigation. The analysis of the crime scene concluded that the Miyazawa family had been murdered around midnight on December 30th, between 11:30 p.m. to 12:05 a.m. The killer seemingly entered the home through the open window of the second-floor bathroom at the rear of the house, located immediately adjacent to Soshigaya Park. Investigators say the fly screen of the bathroom window was found on the ground outside, and footprints were discovered in the mud. There is a possibility that the intruder gained access by climbing the fence, climbing up the air conditioning box, and then removing the window screen. What followed his entrance into the home was a sequence of vicious murders. First, the killer used his bare hands to strangle Ray, who was sleeping in his room on the second floor, killing him through asphyxiation. Several reports said that his father, Mikio, may have rushed up the first-floor stairs after overhearing the disturbance in Ray's room, although there is no solid evidence confirming that. It is believed that Mikio fought with and injured the killer until he was stabbed in the head with a sashimi knife, a Japanese knife with a long, narrow blade, which is specifically designed for slicing raw fish. One police report said Mikio was stabbed so violently that part of the sashimi blade broke off in his head. The killer then attacked Yasuko and Nina with the broken knife, before using a santoku knife, the equivalent of a Western all-purpose chef's knife, to murder them. However, it's what happened after the murders that truly sets this terrible crime apart. Instead of fleeing, the killer remained inside the house for somewhere between 2 and 10 hours, displaying truly bizarre behavior that continues to baffle investigators. He consumed 4 bottles of barley tea, 8 melon, and 4 ice creams from their refrigerator, and used the family's computer from 1:18 a.m. to 1:23 a.m. He even used their toilet without flushing, leaving his feces behind in the toilet. The killer left an unprecedented amount of evidence: blood from an injury sustained during the attack, DNA, fingerprints, and various personal items, including clothing. The killer treated his injuries using first aid kits and other sanitary products. Several reports also said he took a nap on the sofa in the second-floor living room, but there is no way to verify this. Drawers and papers were ransacked, with some being dumped in the bath and toilet, and some money was taken, although more money was left behind. Among the items left behind in the living area was a distinctive gray sweatshirt with purple raglan sleeves, imported from China, which investigators determined had limited distribution in Tokyo. Additional items included a hip bag, hat, jacket, scarf, gloves, and 2 handkerchiefs. In December 2019, it was reported that the handkerchief used to wrap the knife may be similar to those made in the Philippines by communities in Ilocos and Isabela, which prompted the police to consider sending officers there to investigate the possibility that the suspect was in that country. Police investigators were able to determine that the killer had eaten string beans and sesame seeds the previous day, after analyzing feces from the killer in the Miyazawa's bathroom. They further determined that the clothes and sashimi knife left behind by the killer had been purchased in Kanagawa Prefecture. Police learned that only 130 units of the killer's shirt were made and sold, but they were only able to track down 12 of the people who bought the shirts. Trace amounts of sand were found inside the hip bag that the perpetrator left at the scene, which analysis later determined came from the Mojave Desert in Southern California, more specifically the area around Edwards Air Force Base. The shoes used by the suspect were made in South Korea, but were marketed by British sports shoe company Slazenger. Investigators found the killer's DNA and fingerprints throughout the house, but none matched any of their databases, indicating that he did not have a criminal record. Operation Roller was conducted when officers, including those who normally conduct anti-riot and public security duties, were called in to assist their colleagues to go around the neighborhood and collect fingerprints from the locals. However, that search likewise did not lead to any matches. Physically, the killer is believed to be around 5 feet 7 inches tall and of thin build. The wounds of the victims indicate that he is likely to be right-handed. At the time of the murders, the police estimated that the killer was born between 1965 and 1985, 15 to 35 years old at the time of the incident. Due to the physicality required for entering the Miyazawa house and committing the murders. In 2018, the TMPD released new information that they had revised the killer's age down to 15 to 22 years old. Newer DNA tests looked at methylation patterns in the crime scene DNA, which is a method where scientists measure how DNA is chemically tagged over time. Based on that, investigators now estimate the perpetrator was in his 30s at the time of the crime. If that's correct, that would make him in his 50s to 60s now. The margin of error is fairly tight. Experts quoted in the reports say the estimate could be off by only plus or minus 2 to 3 years. An analysis of the murder scene revealed traces of type A blood, which would not have belonged to the Miyazawa family. DNA analysis of the blood determined the killer is male and possibly mixed race. It suggested the perpetrator had East Asian ancestry on his father's side, possibly Japanese, Korean, or Chinese, and Southern European heritage on his mother's side, possibly from the Adriatic or other Mediterranean regions. It's considered possible that the European maternal DNA came from a distant ancestor from the mother's line, rather than a fully European mother. Analysis of the Y chromosome showed a haplogroup, a genetic branch representing a group of people who share a common ancestor far back in history, tracing the paternal lineage to East Asian peoples, commonly appearing in 1 in 4 or 5 Koreans, 1 in 10 Chinese, and 1 in 13 Japanese. There have even been more recent reporting of new data that indicates the maternal ancestry could be traced to Azerbaijan or another area in the Caucasus region, though it is not confirmed. These results brought the police to seek assistance through the International Criminal Police Organization, since there is a possibility that the killer may not be Japanese. Importantly, investigators reportedly tested thousands of male DNA profiles in Japan, but none matched that of the killer, suggesting no close male line relative, at least in the tested pool. It should be noted that Japanese police currently limit DNA used in criminal investigations to just type matching, that is, matching DNA from a crime to a suspect. More advanced uses, like building a facial composite or genome montage from the DNA, or predicting more specific physical traits, are not broadly permitted under current Japanese law. Some advocates, including relatives of the victims, are pushing for legal reforms to allow more advanced DNA-based profiling in Japan. So, to sum up the suspect profile, the killer may have mixed ancestry, East Asian on his father's side, Southern European on his mother's. He was likely in his 30s when the murders happened, placing him in his 50s to 60s now. He might not be purely Japanese, or at least his paternal line may not be represented in current Japanese DNA databases, making identification harder. Because of legal limits on how DNA data can be used in Japan, investigators are more constrained than in some other countries when it comes to building up a full genetic profile. As recently as 2019, it was reported that around 35 officers were still assigned to the Miyazawa case. Every year, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department makes a pilgrimage to the house for memorial ceremonies. After retiring from the police, Takeshi Tsuchida joined the nonprofit organization Sora no Kai as a special advisor. The name is symbolic. Sora, which translates as sky, is thought to represent peace and connection with the victims, expressing the idea that the family now resides under the same sky. The support group was founded by relatives and supporters of the victims, and it advocates for keeping the case in the public eye, urging police to continue their investigation and organizing memorial events for the family. In 2019, the TMPD announced plans to tear down the Miyazawa house because of its age and risk of collapsing, with the interior already showing signs of deterioration. Police said that demolishing the house would have no impact on the investigation, as all evidence from the interior had already been preserved, and 3D printing had been used in 2013 to create an exact model of the Miyazawa's residence for use in the continued investigation. Their decision was appealed by the family and supporters, and as of today, the demolition has not yet occurred. The house remains vacant and fenced off. Less than 2 years ago, on December 9, 2023, the TMPD conducted a new public outreach campaign by distributing flyers and other materials at a major railway station in Setagaya, appealing for information on the case. At one point, the police even created public displays with mannequins wearing the killer's abandoned clothes. The investigation into the murders is among the largest in Japanese history. It has involved more than 246,000 investigators over the years, who have collected over 12,545 pieces of evidence. All evidence related to the case remains in custody. 2 rewards totaling 20 million yen are still being offered for information leading to the arrest of the killer. Yet, despite what has been a truly massive and incredibly comprehensive investigation, the case remains unsolved to this day. The case has left an indelible mark on Japanese society, shattering illusions of suburban safety and prompting advances in forensic investigation techniques. It pushed Japanese police to expand their forensic capabilities, consider new approaches to DNA profiling, and improve their handling of cold cases. The media attention and long investigation of the murders led to a push to abolish the statute of limitations for crimes that could merit the death penalty in Japan, which was removed in 2010. Key questions persist. Was this a targeted attack, a robbery gone wrong, or random violence? Why did the killer remain in the house for so long? Was his bizarre post-murder behavior the result of extreme confidence or significant psychological issues? And perhaps the biggest question, how did someone who left behind so much evidence manage to disappear without a trace? The Setagaya Family Murder remains a stark reminder that even the most evidence-rich cases can remain unsolved, leaving families, communities, and investigators searching for answers that seem to hover just out of reach. Investigators continue to hold out hope that modern forensic methods might someday help solve this decades-old mystery. That includes forensic DNA phenotyping, the science of using DNA to predict a person's appearance, which can be useful in guiding police investigations in cases where there are no suspects and no DNA database match. After all these years, the case file remains open, waiting for one crucial piece of information that might finally bring long-awaited justice to the Miyazawa family. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Echoes of the Unknown. If you found this story compelling, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with fellow mystery lovers. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes it's the smallest clue that cracks the biggest mystery.